The Great Misunderstanding. The galaxy was full of powerful alien species, fierce warriors, cunning tacticians, and brilliant scientists. Among them, Earth was often seen as a weak, insignificant planet. The alien leaders laughed at the idea that humans could ever pose a threat to anyone. Earth's reputation was clear: defenseless. For centuries, no alien force had ever bothered to take Earth seriously. It was just another little world in the vast universe, filled with primitive creatures who had no place in the grand scheme of things. But all that was about to change. It started with a whisper, a rumor that traveled faster than light, reaching the ears of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. There were stories circulating about humans doing the impossible. Strange, isolated humans who were capable of surviving against overwhelming odds, winning battles where victory seemed impossible. Of course, the alien empires laughed it off. After all, humans were nothing more than primitive, emotional creatures, right? But some began to wonder, was it true? Could these humans actually be different from what everyone had believed? A council of alien leaders decided to investigate, thinking it would be an easy mission, nothing more than a small nuisance to prove their superiority over the inferior species. One of the leaders, Captain Zinar of the Terran Dominion, was particularly skeptical. She had spent years conquering worlds, and to her, the idea of humans as a threat was laughable. She and her fleet had invaded hundreds of planets, and never had she encountered any species that could resist her forces for long. She scoffed at the very thought of a human uprising. "Why bother?" she said to her fellow commanders. "The humans are nothing but insects beneath our boots." Her words were met with laughter and agreement from the others, but there was one voice that spoke against them. "Perhaps we should be careful," General Xathar, a seasoned strategist from the Thraxian Empire, suggested quietly. "The humans have survived too many battles. It's worth looking into." His voice was calm, yet there was an edge of concern in it. The other leaders fell silent, and Zinar shot him a dismissive look. "Fear makes fools of us all, Xathar," she said. "The humans are weak, and I'll prove it." Zinar sent a reconnaissance fleet to Earth, confident in the outcome. Her mission was simple: observe, report back, and crush whatever insignificant resistance there might be. Her ships entered Earth's orbit undetected, their advanced stealth technology making them invisible to human radar. The fleet waited in silence, watching from the shadows, ready to strike when the time was right. At first, everything seemed as expected. Earth was chaotic, filled with conflict and disorder. The humans seemed to fight among themselves more than anything else. There was no grand military, no advanced weaponry, no signs of anything that could pose a threat to the mighty Terran Dominion. But then something unexpected happened. A small group of humans began to fight back, harder than Zinar had anticipated. They weren't soldiers, not in the way she understood soldiers to be. They were ordinary people, farmers, teachers, and even children, who were suddenly fighting off invaders with surprising skill and coordination. They used makeshift weapons and tactics that shouldn't have worked, yet somehow they did. Zinar's first instinct was to laugh. "This is nothing," she thought. But there was something in the humans' eyes that made her pause. They weren't afraid. They weren't running. They weren't begging for mercy like the countless species she had conquered before. They stood their ground. As the days went by, Zinar grew increasingly curious. The human resistance didn't stop. In fact, it grew stronger with each passing hour. What was this? Were these humans simply foolhardy, or was there something more? Zinar sent in a small group of her best soldiers to capture a few of them and learn what they knew. The aliens expected the humans to be weak and easily captured, but once again the unexpected happened. The humans fought back fiercely, overwhelming the Terran soldiers in a series of brutal encounters. The aliens were captured instead. Zinar's soldiers returned with stories of how the humans, despite their primitive technology, had outsmarted them at every turn. One of the captured humans, a young man, spoke with them, his voice full of anger and defiance. "You think we're weak," he said. You think we don't know how to fight. You don't know anything about us." Zinar found herself intrigued. "What do you mean?" she asked. The human chuckled bitterly. "You've underestimated us for so long. You think our strength is just in our weapons, but it's not. It's in our will to survive. That's what you don't understand. You can take our cities, you can take our land, but you can never break us." Zinar's mind raced. The stories she had heard, the rumors, could they be true? Was it possible that humans weren't just weak creatures after all? She had to know more. The human leader's words echoed in her mind. "You can never break us." The truth was becoming clearer. There was something about these humans that set them apart, something beyond their technology or weapons. They had an unyielding spirit, an inner strength that the aliens had never faced before, and Zinar realized with a sinking feeling that the Terran Dominion had made a terrible mistake. The humans were no longer the weak, helpless species they had believed them to be. The question was no longer whether Earth could be conquered, it was whether anyone could conquer Earth. The first battle had been fought, but it was just the beginning. The real war had only just begun, and Zinar knew she was not prepared for what was coming next. The human enigma. The more Zinar pondered the strange human words, the more she realized that something was deeply wrong with her understanding of the human race. She had always seen them as nothing more than fragile creatures, easily crushed beneath the weight of any alien invasion. But now, she was beginning to doubt everything she had known about them. She ordered her reconnaissance fleet to remain in Earth's orbit, hidden from human detection. She needed answers. It wasn't just their resilience that intrigued her, it was the unknown element of their strength. How could these weak creatures be so determined? What was behind their ability to fight back with such passion? Zinar was not alone in her curiosity. Her fellow commanders were growing restless, tired of waiting and watching. Most of them had seen enough to be convinced that Earth was, indeed, a worthless planet to be ignored. They urged Zinar to continue the invasion, to crush the resistance once and for all. But Zinar, now deeply intrigued, held them back. "There's more to this than we think," she said, her voice cold but filled with an unusual sense of urgency. "We're not seeing the full picture. There's something hidden here, something powerful." The Alien Council, frustrated by Zinar's reluctance, insisted on sending in a larger force to quickly deal with the human uprising. But Zinar wasn't ready. She had to understand what made the humans fight, what gave them such incredible willpower. She needed more time. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans were becoming more organized. The small group that had first resisted the alien invaders now appeared to be the tip of a much larger force, a force that had been lying dormant for generations. They were everywhere, from the cities to the mountains, and they seemed to be growing in number by the day. What had begun as an uncoordinated effort was now a full-fledged rebellion. The aliens had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt and learn. As the days passed, it became clear that Earth was no longer just a world of primitive creatures. It was a world of survivors, fighters, and perhaps something more. Zinar decided to take a risky step. She ordered her fleet to make contact with the humans, but not in the way anyone would expect. She wanted to learn, not conquer. She sent a single ship to Earth, not to attack, but to observe. This ship, a small but heavily armed scout vessel, would land discreetly in a remote part of the planet and make contact with the humans directly. The ship's landing was almost seamless. It touched down in the wilderness, away from major cities, and sent out a single encrypted message. The message was simple, yet dangerous. "We seek knowledge. We offer no harm." Zinar watched, hidden in the shadows of her fleet, as the human response came quickly. To her surprise, they didn't react with fear or hostility. Instead, a small group of humans arrived at the landing site, weapons in hand, but not pointed at the alien vessel. They were calm, calculating, cautious but not frightened. Zinar watched the scene unfold on her command screen. The humans didn't approach the ship as invaders would. They circled it, studying it. It was clear they weren't ordinary soldiers. There was intelligence in their eyes. This wasn't the desperation of a cornered animal. This was a careful assessment, as if they were deciding whether to treat the aliens as enemies or something else. The human leader, a woman with dark hair and piercing eyes, stepped forward. She was younger than Zinar expected, perhaps in her late 20s, but there was a confidence in her movements that spoke volumes. She called out to the ship. "We know who you are," she said. Her voice was steady, but Zinar could hear the edge of something deeper beneath her words. "We know what you've done, but don't mistake us for fools. You've been watching us for too long, and now it's time we had answers." Zinar was stunned. How could she know that they were watching? She had made sure to keep the fleet hidden. How had this human uncovered their presence? The alien captain on the ship hesitated before responding. "We come in peace. We wish only to understand. Earth is not what we believed." The human leader laughed bitterly. "You've been underestimating us for centuries, haven't you? You think you can come here, destroy everything, and walk away without consequence. But you're wrong." Zinar felt a chill run down her spine. There was no fear in the human leader's eyes, only a steely resolve. She could feel the weight of her words, as if they carried an ancient history. Was this the truth behind the human's strength? Zinar had assumed they were simply struggling to survive, but this woman spoke as if she knew far more than she let on. "What do you want?" the woman demanded. Zinar was silent for a long moment. "We want to know the truth. What is it about you humans that makes you fight like this? How can you survive when you are so fragile?" The woman's gaze sharpened. "Fragile, maybe, but that doesn't make us weak. It just means we have to fight harder. We were once much more than what you see now, but we've never given up. Not in all the years you've underestimated us." Zinar's mind raced. What did she mean? She had to learn more, but the woman's words filled her with more questions than answers. Earth had been a quiet, isolated planet for centuries. What could she be referring to? Before Zinar could speak again, the human leader took one last look at the ship. "If you want to understand, you'll need to do more than just ask. You'll have to see it with your own eyes." And with that, she turned, walking away with her people, leaving the alien captain in stunned silence. Zinar realized, perhaps for the first time, that Earth was not the helpless world she had imagined. Something far deeper was hidden here, and it was more dangerous than she had ever feared. A dark past. The human leader's words lingered in the air, and for the first time, Zinar felt a deep unease settle in her chest. The woman's voice carried a weight, as if she was speaking not just to an alien captain, but to an entire galaxy. It was the voice of someone who had lived through hardship, someone who had seen things others could never imagine. Zinar's curiosity burned. "Tell me," she asked cautiously, "why do you fight? What drives you?" The human leader's eyes narrowed, and for a moment she said nothing. Then, with a slow, deliberate movement, she lowered her weapon and took a step closer to the alien ship. The others around her remained still, their eyes scanning the horizon as if they were prepared for any sudden move. The woman spoke, her voice steady, but with an unmistakable edge of sadness. "You really don't understand, do you?" she said. "You think we're just another species fighting for survival, desperate for a way out. But you're wrong. We've been fighting for a very long time, and not just for survival." Zinar leaned forward, her eyes locking onto the woman. "Then what is it? Why do humans fight with such fire? Why are you willing to die for this planet?" The human leader took a deep breath, her gaze falling to the ground for a moment. "You don't know what Earth was like before the war, before the betrayal." The words struck Zinar like a blow. "The war, betrayal." Her voice faltered. "What are you talking about?" The woman raised her head, her eyes blazing with a fierce, unrelenting anger. "You think this fight is about us, about Earth? It's not. This fight is about an empire that no longer exists, a galactic empire that once spanned the stars. Earth was once part of that empire, an empire that was betrayed by the very beings who now see us as weak." Zinar's mind reeled. You're saying Earth was part of a galactic empire? The human leader nodded, her expression darkening. Yes. A long time ago, Earth wasn't just a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. It was a major hub in a powerful empire. And then one day it was torn apart. Not by war, not by enemies, but by its own allies. The very species you think are our masters. Zinar was silent, trying to process the gravity of her words. She had always believed that Earth was an isolated, insignificant world, just another backwater planet in the galaxy. But now she was hearing a different story, a story that changed everything. The woman continued, her voice tinged with bitterness. When the galaxy's other empires decided it was time to eliminate Earth, they didn't do it through open war. No, they sent their best to tear us apart from within. They poisoned our leaders, sabotaged our technology, and turned our allies against us. Earth fell not because it was too weak to defend itself, but because it was betrayed by those we trusted. Zinar's eyes widened in disbelief. But why? Why would your allies betray you? The woman's gaze grew colder. Because we were too strong, too powerful. They were afraid of us, afraid of what we could become. So they did everything they could to break us. They didn't want Earth to rise as the true power in the galaxy. They wanted to keep us in our place beneath them. And when Earth fought back, when we rose from the ashes, they made sure we stayed hidden. They erased us from the history books, covered our existence in lies. They made sure no one knew what we were capable of. Zinar's mind raced. Everything she had believed about Earth's history now seemed like a lie. The humans were not just survivors. They were heirs to a power long forgotten. Their fight wasn't just for survival. It was a fight to reclaim what had been stolen from them. But what did that mean for her people, for the galaxy? And all this time, the human leader said softly, her voice barely a whisper, "You thought we were weak." Zinar stared at the woman, her thoughts swirling in a storm of confusion. "So, you've been hiding this history for centuries." The woman's eyes grew distant, as if she was seeing something far beyond Zinar's ship. "Yes, for centuries, we've lived in the shadows. But that ends now. We've kept our true strength hidden for too long. The galaxy thinks we're just another insignificant world, but we're not. We've been waiting for the right time to rise again, and that time is now." Zinar felt the weight of those words. They echoed in her mind as she thought about the many species in the galaxy that had underestimated Earth, mocked its defenseless reputation. But now she realized the humans weren't weak. They had been playing a long game, a game of survival, yes, but also of patience. They had bided their time, watching, learning, and waiting for the moment to strike back. The human leader turned and looked at her with a steely resolve. "If you think you can come here and crush us like you've done to so many others, you're wrong. You've underestimated us. And now you'll see what happens when humans fight back. You'll see the true power of Earth." Zinar's heart skipped a beat. The arrogance she had once carried was now replaced with doubt. For the first time, she felt the weight of the human race's past, and the terrifying reality that they were no longer the weak, helpless species she had believed them to be. "You're right," Zinar said quietly, her voice trembling with the sudden weight of understanding. I don't know who you really are." The human leader's lips curled into a small, knowing smile. "No one does. But you will. Soon enough. Earth's secret weapon." Zinar's mind was racing. The human leader's words, laced with bitter history and barely contained fury, had shaken everything Zinar thought she knew about Earth. She had come to this planet expecting to crush a defenseless species, one that had never been a real threat to anyone. But now, everything had changed. The truth was clear. Earth was far more than just a small, isolated world. The humans had hidden their strength for centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike back. And now it seemed that moment had come. As Zinar's ship hovered silently above the barren land where she had made contact with the human leader, she noticed something strange. a subtle shift in the atmosphere. The humans, who had been so bold and confident moments ago, were now moving with an urgency that made Zinar uneasy. Something was happening, something that the humans had been hiding all along. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air, vibrating the very ground beneath Zinar's feet. The humans stiffened, their eyes narrowing in recognition. They were no longer looking at the alien vessel, they were looking up at the sky, as if expecting something big. Zinar's heart skipped a beat. Her ship's sensors began to beep with growing intensity, and she quickly switched to a tactical readout. Her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. There on the horizon, rising from beneath the earth, was something colossal, a massive structure, once buried deep underground, now emerging into the open. A metallic behemoth, its surface covered in strange markings and alien symbols, slowly ascended from the ground. It was unlike anything Zinar had ever seen. A ship. No, it was far too large, too intricate, to be just a ship. It was a fortress, a weapon, a relic of an ancient Earth empire that had been hidden away for centuries. Zinar's breath caught in her throat. The magnitude of what she was witnessing left her speechless. Earth had not been defenseless. It had been waiting for the right moment to unleash the true power of its forgotten empire. The human leader turned towards Zinar with a grim smile. "There," she said quietly. "That's what you didn't know about us. That's our secret weapon." Zinar's eyes narrowed as she tried to comprehend the enormity of what was unfolding. What? What is that?" Her voice was barely a whisper. The woman's expression hardened, her gaze never leaving the colossal machine. "That's the Ark. It's a ship, the heart of Earth's true power. It was buried long ago to keep it safe, hidden from the enemies who tried to destroy us. Now, it's awakened." Zinar's mind raced. She had heard stories of ancient civilizations hiding powerful weapons, but nothing like this. The Ark wasn't just a weapon, it was a force capable of changing the balance of power in the entire galaxy. The human leader stepped forward, her face reflecting a strange mix of pride and sorrow. You see, the galaxy never knew the truth. Earth was never defenseless. It was just forgotten, hidden. But now, we're ready to remind the galaxy of who we really are. Zinar stood frozen as she watched the Ark slowly rise into the sky, its engines humming to life. It was a ship, yes, but it was more than that. It was a symbol. A symbol of humanity's resilience, their refusal to stay broken, no matter how many times the universe tried to crush them. The Ark was a weapon, but it was also a message. Earth was back, and this time, it would not fall again. But even as Zinar marveled at the spectacle, something else caught her attention, something darker, more unsettling. The ground beneath her feet began to shake with increasing intensity. Her ship's sensors were going haywire, warning her of incoming forces, more than she could have anticipated. "What is happening?" Zinar demanded, her voice laced with urgency. The human leader glanced up, her eyes narrowing as she watched the horizon. "This isn't just about the Ark, it's about what comes with it." Before Zinar could ask any more questions, a loud roar echoed through the air, and the ground split open in multiple places. From the cracks in the earth, massive mechanical beasts, enormous, armored war machines, began to rise. The Ark wasn't just a ship. It was the center of a whole network of ancient Earth technology, armored warriors, automated defenses, and weapons of unimaginable power, all long forgotten by the galaxy, now coming to life in response to the Ark's awakening. Zinar felt a chill run down her spine. These weren't just weapons, they were guardians. Earth had not only hidden its weaponry, it had kept entire battalions of war machines buried beneath its surface, waiting for the moment they would be needed. The human leader's voice was calm, but filled with an undeniable sense of finality. "This is what you've been waiting for. This is the power you underestimated." Zinar looked at the machines rising from the earth, massive mechanical creatures designed for war. They were unlike anything she had seen before. Each one seemed to carry the weight of Earth's history with it, a history of betrayal, survival, and now a rebirth. This is impossible, Zina muttered, her voice filled with disbelief. She was witnessing something that could change everything. Earth had not just survived, it had been preparing for this moment, for the moment when it would rise from the ashes of its betrayal and reclaim its place in the galaxy. The Ark continued to ascend into the sky, accompanied by the war machines, like a herald of something far greater than a simple rebellion. It was the resurgence of an empire long lost, but never forgotten, now awakened and ready to fight back. The human leader turned to Zina, her eyes filled with a mixture of pride and something darker, something that spoke of a long, painful history. "You may have thought Earth was nothing," she said softly, "but now you know the truth." Zina stood motionless, her mind whirling. She had come to Earth thinking it was weak, an easy target. But now she understood. Earth wasn't just a planet, it was a sleeping giant, and it had just awakened. And in that moment, Zina realized something chilling. The war for the galaxy had just begun, the rising storm. Zina watched in stunned silence as the ground beneath her feet continued to tremble. The monstrous war machines, half buried beneath Earth's surface for centuries, were emerging with a deafening roar, shaking the very atmosphere with their mechanical power. They were like titans, massive, armored, and relentless. Some of them were humanoid in shape, towering figures with glowing eyes and weapons built into their arms. Others were quadrupedal, massive beasts with heavy armor plating that seemed to absorb the very light around them. The Ark, still rising into the sky, unleashed a blinding pulse of energy, causing the war machines to power up. As the pulse echoed across the landscape, every machine came to life, its systems booting up, gears and engines coming to life with a terrifying hum. Zina's ship's systems began to malfunction under the immense energy surge. Her sensors flashed with alerts, but she couldn't tear her eyes away from the spectacle below. "These aren't just weapons," Zina muttered to herself. "They're guardians." The human leader turned, her face darkened with an emotion that Zina couldn't quite place. Pride, yes, but also something more. Something that felt ancient, almost like a weight borne for centuries. "Yes," the woman said quietly. "We called them the Titans. They were the defenders of Earth, created in the old days to protect the Empire from any threat. When the Empire fell, they were hidden away, along with the Ark, until Earth was ready. Now, we are ready." Zina's mind was spinning. Ready for what? "You think this is a fight?" the human leader said, as if reading Zina's thoughts. "No, this is a war to reclaim what was stolen from us. To remind the galaxy that Earth is not some fragile, forgotten backwater. We are the inheritors of an empire that once ruled the stars." Zina felt a sudden unease wash over her. The words echoed in her mind, each one carrying more weight than the last. The human leader spoke with an authority that was unfamiliar to Zina. It wasn't the desperation of a small, weak species struggling to survive. No, this was the confidence of a people who had once known power and who were about to reclaim it. The Titans, now fully awakened, turned their eyes toward the horizon. They began to march in perfect synchronization, their heavy steps creating tremors across the land. They moved with purpose, as if they were not just following orders, but fulfilling a destiny. Zina watched as one of the Titans raised a massive arm, its fingers curling around a weapon that glowed with an otherworldly energy. What are they going to do?" Zina whispered. "They're going to send a message," the human leader said with a cold smile. "The same message Earth sent when it ruled the stars, that no one can destroy us, not even the galaxy itself." Zina was about to respond when a bright flash of light exploded from the Titan's weapon. The blast ripped through the sky, cutting through the air like a knife. It was so powerful that Zina's ship shook, the blast sending a shockwave across the landscape. The power was unlike anything she had ever seen, even in the most advanced alien weaponry. It was pure, unrelenting force. The beam shot into the sky, hitting nothing in particular, but sending a clear message to anyone who might be watching. Earth had returned. Zinar realized that Earth wasn't just preparing to defend itself. No, this was far bigger. The humans had been hiding something for so long, something so powerful that it could reshape the entire galaxy. But why hadn't they used it before? Why had they waited so long? And what did this mean for her fleet, for her people, and for the galaxy at large? The human leader seemed to read Zinar's thoughts again. You're wondering why we didn't act sooner. Why we let you think we were weak, defenseless. She shook her head slowly. We've been waiting for the right time. The galaxy thought Earth was dead. They thought we were nothing but a myth. But we weren't. We were just biding our time, preparing for when the galaxy would need to remember who we truly are. Zinar's mind was racing. She had been so sure of her mission, so certain that Earth was no more than a primitive world to be wiped out with ease. And now, here she was, standing in the middle of an awakening power, an ancient empire ready to rise from the ashes. As the Titans moved into formation, Zinar could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on her. This wasn't just a rebellion. It wasn't just a fight for survival. Earth was claiming its place in the galaxy once more, and it wasn't going to bow to anyone. Suddenly, a communication pinged through Zinar's console. She hesitated before answering, still processing the enormity of what was unfolding before her. The voice on the other end was calm, but stern. Captain Zinar, this is Admiral Threx of the Terran Dominion Fleet. We've been watching. It seems your assessment of Earth was incorrect. Zinar felt a cold chill run down her spine. Admiral, she replied, her voice tight. You're seeing it too. Indeed, the Admiral said. It appears we have underestimated Earth, but this changes everything. Earth is not just a threat. It is an empire, and we need to decide what to do about it. Zinar's mind was racing faster now. Her once simple mission had turned into a galaxy-shifting event. Earth wasn't just fighting to survive. It was reclaiming its place at the table, and every empire in the galaxy would soon have to decide whether to bow to Earth or face its wrath. The storm was rising, and soon Zinar would have to choose her side. Prepare the fleet, Zinar said, her voice colder than ever. We are no longer fighting for survival. We are fighting for the future of the galaxy. The shattered illusion. Zinar stood motionless as the world around her seemed to crack open. The Titans marched across the landscape, their colossal forms making the very ground quake beneath them. The Ark, now fully airborne, cast an enormous shadow over the battlefield. It was as if Earth itself was reclaiming its place in the stars, and Zinar was left to witness the end of an old reality and the dawn of something far more terrifying. The human leader's words echoed in her mind. We've been waiting. It had never occurred to Zinar that the humans, this insignificant, primitive species, had been lying in wait for centuries, biding their time, preparing for a moment like this. A moment when they would rise again and show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Your empire never really fell, Zinar muttered, more to herself than to the human leader. It just disappeared. It was hidden. And now you've come back. The woman's lips curled into a tight smile. Exactly. You think the galaxy's rulers have forgotten us, that they've erased our history from their records. They've forgotten what we were, but they'll remember soon enough. Zinar's eyes narrowed. And what happens now? You think the galaxy will just kneel before you, after all this time? The human leader didn't answer immediately. She simply turned her gaze to the rising arc, her expression hardening. The galaxy will come to understand that Earth is not to be trifled with. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for the future of this galaxy, for the return of a power that should never have been lost. Zinar's mind swirled with 1,000 thoughts. Her confidence in her species, the Terran Dominion, had always been absolute. For centuries they had expanded, consumed, and conquered. But what she saw before her now shattered that certainty. The humans were not just fighting for their survival, They were fighting to reclaim a throne that had been theirs long before the rise of any other empire. Zinar felt a strange, deep unease in the pit of her stomach. The Terran Dominion had always considered itself the pinnacle of civilization in the galaxy, but now she wasn't so sure. If Earth could bring back this kind of power, what else could they be hiding? She turned to the human leader, trying to keep her voice steady. If Earth is so powerful, why wait so long? Why let the galaxy believe you were weak? The woman's eyes flickered with a mixture of bitterness and sorrow. Because, Captain Zinar, not every battle is fought with weapons. Sometimes, the greatest strength is the strength to endure, to wait until the time is right. And now the time is here. Zinar took a deep breath, her mind trying to process the magnitude of the situation. The human leader was right. Earth hadn't been defeated by its enemies. It had been biding its time, waiting until the galaxy had grown complacent, until the galaxy's rulers had forgotten what Earth was capable of. And now that time had come. The Titans, now fully active and moving in formation, began to march toward the horizon, toward the capital cities of Earth. Zinar's senses flickered, showing her the trajectory of their path. They were not marching toward war, at least not yet. They were marching toward something more dangerous. Earth wasn't just preparing to defend itself, it was preparing to reclaim what had been stolen from them, their rightful place in the galaxy. As the Ark moved through the atmosphere, its engines glowing brighter with every passing second, Zinar's mind turned to the Terran Dominion, her people, her fleet. What would they do when they learned the truth? What would they do when they saw the might of Earth's hidden power unleashed? Zinar knew the answer before the human leader spoke again. "They'll come," the woman said, her voice heavy with the knowledge of what was to come. "The other empires will send their fleets. They'll come to destroy us, to make sure we stay in the shadows where they think we belong." Zinar's eyes widened. "And you'll fight them?" The woman's smile was cold, calculating. "No, we'll crush them. We will show them that Earth is not the weakling they thought it was. We'll remind the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far." Zinar felt a shiver run down her spine. The human leader's words were more than just threats. They were a promise. Earth was no longer a victim of the galaxy's power, no longer a forgotten world on the edge of the universe. Earth had awakened, and with it, the galaxy was about to feel the full force of its anger, its might, and its determination. The illusion that Earth was helpless, weak, insignificant, it was all falling apart. And Zinar realized, too late, that the galaxy had been wrong about Earth. So wrong. As the Titans reached the capital city, a low rumble filled the air. The ground trembled once more as the Ark prepared to unleash its full power. Zinar's comm system crackled to life, and her fleet commander's voice came through, urgent and filled with disbelief. "Captain Zinar, you need to return to the fleet. We've detected an incoming fleet. Multiple signatures, massive warships. The Galactic Council has responded." Zinar's eyes hardened. The galaxy was about to face a reckoning. "We'll be ready," Zinar said, her voice low and fierce. "Let them come." The reckoning. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. As Zinar watched the towering Titans march toward the heart of Earth, her mind struggled to grasp the enormity of the situation. The Ark loomed above, a massive ship that now radiated the ancient, unfathomable power of an empire long thought extinct. Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was preparing to challenge the very foundation of the galaxy's power structures. Zinar felt a chill run through her, a deep foreboding that she couldn't shake. This was no longer a battle for survival, it was a war for the future of the galaxy. Earth had hidden its strength for centuries, and now that the secret was out, there was no turning back. And it wasn't just about Earth's past, it was about its future. The galaxy had misjudged the humans for so long, assuming they were nothing more than a fractured, weak species. But the humans had always known something the galaxy had forgotten. Sometimes, the greatest weapon is time itself. "You understand now, don't you?" The human leader said, her voice calm. but with a cold edge that sent a shiver down Xenar's spine. This isn't just about Earth. This is about every planet, every species, every empire that thought they could dominate us. You've underestimated us for centuries. Now we will make sure you never forget who we are again. Xenar swallowed hard, her mind racing. What could she do? Her fleet was formidable, but it wasn't prepared for the scale of what she was witnessing. The Titans, the Ark, these were not mere weapons. They were symbols of an ancient power, one that could very well tear apart the galaxy's power balance in a single strike. She had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, but now she was seeing a world ready to rise up and take its place among the stars once more. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sharp transmission from her ship's command center. The voices of her fleet commanders crackled through the comms, their voices filled with confusion and alarm. "Captain, we've detected incoming vessels, massive fleets coming from the outer systems. The other empires, they found out about the Ark." Xenar's heart skipped a beat. The human leader had been right. The galaxy's rulers had been watching, waiting, and now they were coming. She had no time to prepare, no way to warn her fleet. This wasn't just an invasion anymore. This was the beginning of an all-out war. "We can't fight them all," Xenar said quietly, her voice betraying the weight of her realization. "Not with what we have. The Dominion's fleet isn't equipped for this." The human leader turned to her, her eyes burning with a quiet fury. "You're wrong. You don't need to fight them all. You only need to make them understand one thing. That Earth will not fall again." The ground shook once more as the Titans moved forward, their feet pounding the Earth in perfect unison. The Ark had shifted course, now aimed directly at the incoming fleets. Xenar could see the flashes of lights in the distance, the fleets from the galactic empires, large enough to blot out the stars. But Earth's power was undeniable. The Ark's engines hummed, the energy rippling outward like a wave crashing into the incoming forces. Then, with a deafening roar, the Ark fired its primary weapon, a beam of pure, raw energy so intense that it sent a shockwave across the battlefield. The beam struck the first fleet, cutting through ships like a hot knife through butter. They didn't even have time to react. The fleet was obliterated in an instant, its ships shattered and scattered across space, like debris in the wake of an unstoppable force. Xenar's breath caught in her throat. She had seen the might of her own Dominion's fleet, but nothing could have prepared her for the sheer destructive power of the Ark. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a message. A warning to anyone who dared challenge Earth's return. The Second Fleet, now desperately trying to regroup, fired back, launching waves of missiles and energy blasts. But the Titans, guided by ancient intelligence, deflected the attacks with ease. They moved with such precision that Xenar could barely comprehend how they anticipated every move of their enemies. Earth's ancient technology was far beyond anything the galaxy's empires had at their disposal. A voice crackled through her comms. It was her fleet commander, panic evident in his voice. "Captain, we're outmatched. We can't hold our position much longer." Xenar hesitated. She had fought countless battles, always confident in the strength of her people. But now, as she watched Earth's power unfold before her, a wave of realization washed over her. The galaxy had misunderstood Earth for too long. She, too, had underestimated the human spirit, their ability to endure, to evolve, and to rise from the ashes when all seemed lost. The human leader stepped forward, her eyes focused on the battlefield. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "They'll keep coming. The other empires won't stop. But Earth won't bend, Captain Xenar. Earth will rise again, and we'll make sure of it." Xenar stood, her thoughts racing. It was clear now. Earth was not just a planet fighting for survival, it was a force reborn. A force that would shape the future of the galaxy. Xenar made her decision. "Prepare to withdraw," she said, her voice firm. "We cannot stop Earth. Not today. We need to regroup, learn from this, and find a new way forward." As her ship turned to leave, Xenar couldn't help but glance back one last time. The ark loomed in the distance, its energy shimmering in the sky, casting a long shadow over the battlefield. Earth had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The reckoning had begun.